All right, this is August 20th, 2018. My title is There Was No Ancient Paleo-Hebrew Language. Now, I know you're going to just ridicule me quickly, just even from the title alone. You see, I have to take a walk on the wild side, because after all the deception taught from the Bible and from the Torah specifically, people have to go against the rules in order to crack the whole thing. I'm going to show you why I believe there's no ancient Paleo-Hebrew. And yeah, you're going to say, but look at all the many inscriptions and scrolls and so on that they're found. Well, some of those people don't even believe they're really as old as they said. Like, you know, somebody would say certain things can just be written in modern times on an old rock. But then you say, well, what about the ones that were really written from way back then? Well, it could have been. But what I'm really meaning is that it is not ancient going back to Adam. Like they say, the Hebrew language is the Lashon Kodesh. And it is Adam's language, and it is the language of the Hebrews. You laugh at my title when I say there is no Paleo-Hebrew, but I'm laughing at your book. Which one do you think is worse? You think to ridicule me, but you think you are safe in your belief because I'm the only one saying this. But there are billions of people on earth who believe you are right when you say there was, and Hebrew was that language. But I'm going to laugh in this video at your deception. Let me read from the Torah. Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, and I'll read maybe another verse or two. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. So far, the earth was of one language and of one speech. So they say, yeah, see, that's the Hebrew we're talking about. It was the original language, the language of Adam. If all the earth was like that, then that must have been the language from Adam. Step on the brakes a little bit. Let me read some more. And okay, so we know now that they went on to making this supposed physical tower. And they said, let's build us a city and a tower whose top will reach to heaven and so on. And verse 5 says, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. It seems like the Lord is realizing some kind of weakness to having one language. Like, oops, I made a mistake. They all have one language. So their unity will assist them in doing this evil thing. As the Torah teacher taught us to not question and to not think when they told us many things, but also like they were supposed to spread out all over the earth, but they were trying to build life in one spot with the one language, so they got cursed with splitting up of language to spread them over all the earth. As if they could not have been spread over all the earth with the same language. Because think of how silly the Torah teacher is. If you teach me on any day that the creator, or let's use Yahweh here because he might be different from the creator, that Yahweh or the Lord said that man should go all over the earth and fill the earth, and he gave them one original language, which he had at first from Adam, so everybody had the one language. And he's saying spread over all the earth. Then they would have, if they followed that, they would have gone over all the earth with one language. Because their language is not going to stop them from spreading over all the earth, the same way their language did not stop them from congregating in one spot. Because if you and I speak English, it don't stop you from traveling over to the east and me from traveling to the west with the same language. As long as we're spreading, it pleases God. So the argument doesn't really stand up anymore, as far as I can tell. But it's like the writer is focusing on the language because there is a language trick to the Hebrew that we have been so long deceived about. And from I started last year looking into the language, this is what led me to realizing the Torah was a fake, because certain things just couldn't add up as I read the scriptures for myself. And I started to question this Hebrew language. And today, some more things came to me, which I'm sharing right here. So now, he said, in my words, to put it, is like, they all have one language. That's helping to strengthen them. So let's smash it up. Let's weaken them by giving them multiple tongues. Because one tongue makes them strong, many tongues will scatter them. So verse 7 says, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. He didn't say let's go break up their tools that they're using to build the tower. Let's go break up their bricks that they're making, or dry up the water so they cannot make the mud bricks properly. But he said, let us do something to their language. So this text here is tricking you with language to set up the wrong teaching that Hebrew was the original language of earth. I'm going to show you right here that that is a serious problem in the scriptures. I told you I was going to laugh in this video at your Hebrew deception, your Paleo Hebrew, and saying, well, it's just the modern Hebrew that is a problem. But the real Paleo, ancient Hebrew. So, and if you really think of it, when they say Paleo Hebrew, it's kind of like, when you be with Paleo, it's before, the thing that comes before. So Paleo Hebrew language is really the before Hebrew language. So the language that was there before there was anything called Hebrew language. Let me continue. Because Hebrew is not original to Adam. So therefore is the name called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. The Torah teacher went on to teach me, and many, many others who are being deceived, that Shem was not involved in all of this, and so Shem kept the original language. Now Shem turned out, as far as I can see, to be one of the most wicked people on earth, because it's out of the line of Shem that the Creator said, you can't even live in my house, O children of Israel, not in my land, I kick you out. That you are basically like increased or perfected the evil of the heathen. I can't even stand you in my own house anymore, O house of Israel, get out of my house or get out of my land. He turned his back on the Shemites called the Israelites. And so he treated them in a way where he did not treat the heathen. I mean, he just did them so bad that one wonders if he had ever done such a thing to the heathen. You see, because you talk about Noah's flood and you talk about whatever, but really, to have had direct access to the quote-unquote throne room or the inner courts with an Israelite high priest system that can go right into the inner court of the presence of Yahweh, the God of the whole earth, and to have the Creator reject you. He has done something to you by ripping his presence away from you and his connection away from you in a way that he has not done it to any heathen, because Amos 3:2, you only have I known of all the people of the earth, all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you. So he's doing something to Israel he never did to anybody else. Israel was the most wicked of all people on earth, the Shemite Israelite. So why was the Shemite not included in this curse at Babel? The wicked Shemite, who gets access to God's one-of-a-kind glory and presence and miracles on earth, but treats it like it is just a rag doll, an old dirty doll, cloth doll that a child has had for 45 years, and when they're that old, they decide finally to just throw it away because they're doing spring cleaning. And I've had this from a child. It is so dirty, this can't even be washed anymore, and it's ripped up, torn up bad. Like, can you get what I'm trying to say? Now you say they were split up over all the earth. Well, eventually we would find that the Shemites went over all the earth as well. Even in Solomon's time, Shemites were traveling on ships. Even over to the Americas, we understand, and to Brazil, and looking for gold, and wherever they went and so on. And we know even in the Bible times, it's spelling it out in scripture, that Israelites would go into other lands many times, and even in captivity they went into other lands. So what we're finding is that if the Shemite, who is an Israelite, having the original tongue of earth that Adam spoke, eventually went over all the earth, then the Shemite carried the language all over. And since the Shemite, even at the time of Babel, moved over all the earth as well, because we knew they were always moving all over the place, and it does say that they journeyed from the east, so the people were just always moving. Now you're telling me that the Shemite did not move around as well at that time of Babel? Everybody is on earth is this is a problem I've had in other recordings, because the Cushite found out first about the concept of God, the Egyptian, and they built many great and mighty things that still can be seen, all kinds of artifacts and everything. But the Israelite was just there sitting, twiddling their thumbs, and you can't find as many monuments today from the Israelites as the Cushites had, to show the glory of the Cushite in ancient times. You find far less of the Israelite, but the Israelite you say was chosen by God, and not the Cushite. So here it is again, that the Cushite did not get the revelation from God at Sinai, who was busy with technology and building great structures across the whole face of the earth. But the Israelite who wasn't doing that gets to go up to Sinai and get the revelation from God. Here it is again, other people who are not Shemite, because the Shemite was not a part of this Babel curse. Other people on earth were journeying from the east. So they're journeying, they're being productive, they're traveling, they're sojourning, they are moving, they're searching the earth, and then they find a spot, they say, hey, let's build something here. At least they're a progressive. But the Shemite just sitting down, twiddling his thumbs again, not doing anything, just stay a part of it, and when the curse comes, they just conveniently not get to be a part of the curse because they weren't a part of it. But the people who are trying to do something, they get cursed. Babel is a trick. And I'm still going to tell you, like I promised, about what I think about the whole Babel story, what I think it really was about. Because that wasn't about no building, no physical structure. Doesn't mean they didn't build something, but I'm going to show you the trick. It is a lie that is still flourishing today, and it is what powers the deception on earth today. But you say Shem wasn't a part of it, so Shem kept the original language. But now, here is the problem for Hebrew today, and Paleo Hebrew of yesterday being the Hebrew of the Bible and the Hebrew of the Torah, is that if the Shemites did not get cursed in their original tongue, then why didn't the people hearing themselves go haywire with their tongue being cursed, so now they're speaking different tongues, why didn't they get themselves back together since they were so progressive? And just come down from the tower and say to the Shemites at the bottom who wasn't a part of this, hey, our language got messed up. Can you reteach us the language since you didn't get affected by this curse? Hello. You see? They were smart enough to build, and we know after they got cursed, they were going scattering on the earth to go and build in another land. So they were still smart. He didn't make them idiots. So why didn't they just say to the Shemite at the bottom, who wasn't a part of this, reteach us the language? It's a big trick. But in addition to that, the Shemite is there, and he also travels all over the earth. So he then, as a Shemite, and later on Israelites, as some of them were Israelites later on, would have spread the original tongue all over wherever they went. So how come we are told that original Hebrew was lost for thousands of years and we just picked it up in 1948 or thereabouts? How come original Hebrew was lost? The Lashon Kodesh, the original language of earth, of the Israelites and of Adam. When the Shemites were speaking it still because they were not affected by the curse at Babel, and so as they continued to live on earth, they spread it all over the earth. They were spreading it in Abraham's time. They were spreading it all over. Every time they were just spreading it everywhere they went. So when these cursed people went on to start from their scattering other nations in different lands, then as the Shemite, unaffected with his tongue, traveled around as well, the original Hebrew would have been spreading everywhere, and so Hebrew would not have died out. It would have surfaced everywhere they went, and corrupted people's tongues would have heard and been drawn back to the original tongue. Can somebody say amen? But Hebrew, you said, was lost when the Shemite, the no good low-down Shemite again, who stole the revelation from God at Mount Sinai when the mighty Cushite that was dominating the world and spreading around never got the revelation at Sinai. But the Shemite again was spreading all around and spreading the language as he moved. Or did he even bother to spread? So the Shemite kept his language because he did not participate in the curse of Babel, did not receive the curse of Babel, because he wasn't going to do something unrighteous as build at Babel. So when he saw the curse come upon the earth and the language is gone and the language is powerful and it's needed and it is the language that God speaks, why didn't the Shemite do something to correct the plight of man by reteaching them in all the lands they went the real original tongue? To say, I know you messed up, but this is the way back to that which is original. When the Shemite knows that the worse earth gets away from what is Eden, is the worst earth will become until in 2018 we're planning to wipe each other out with all kinds of nuclear bombs. The Shemite got the word of God. The Shemite got the word of Sinai. The Shemite was the only one to get 613 commandments. The Shemite has been irresponsible with all of the knowledge of God and sees the world going downhill, scattered with all kinds of confusing tongues, and does not do anything to reteach all of earth. But you're out there teaching on the street and teaching in synagogues and teaching in churches that people should know God and teach them this, that, and the other. The Shemite is not concerned with teaching back to get people back to original things when he knows he has the original tongue. But people today are doing archaeology and excavation, spending their own money and just throwing off their schedule with life and quitting their job to go and excavate and search and do whatever, to write books about what they've uncovered, to teach things that are original to the start of time as we know it, and to uncover the past, to reconstruct the past, to bring man back to what was original. But the Shemite looked at earth that had less damage than it has now, and does not try to reteach man when he was scattered at Babel and lost his tongue that was going to bring chaos on earth. What kind of Shemite is this that the God Yahweh invested in? Can somebody stop me before I finish some more of this video? Come on, man, this Bible is a trick. God is not smart if he wrote this. Yahweh is not smart at all. Or maybe J-E-P was not smart. D was not smart. All of these guys were not smart. Now look here in 2 Kings 18 verse 26. Then said Eliakim the son of Hilkiah and Shabna and Joah unto Rabshakeh, speak, I pray thee, to thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and talk not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall. Alright, so they want the Jews' language. So the Bible calls it like the Jews' language or the language of the Hebrews. And we are told that it is the Hebrew language, but there's a trick. Because it says the language of the Hebrews, it does not quite tell you what that language is. It just says the language of the Hebrews. The language of the Hebrews. It doesn't tell you what it is. Now here is the big trick that I will close on. They tell you today, Torah teachers who are deceiving you with skillful witchcraft type teachings are teaching you that Hebrew was the language. But notice that if Adam had this particular language, which was Hebrew, when they say Hebrew was the original language, and they're telling you that the language of the Hebrews was Hebrew, then you have to understand that somebody is playing something in your mind. Because this language, they claim it to be the language of Israel. But it is not the language of Israel. They say the language of the Jews or the language of the Hebrews is a trick that the modern world was never meant to figure out. Because it is not the language of the Jews or the language of the Hebrews. If it's a Lashon Kodesh, it will be the language of mankind, because it was the language that Adam spoke. You say Adam spoke the Paleo Hebrew? No. We don't know what he spoke, according to the information that they're bringing out. They say it's the language of the Hebrews, the language of the Israelites. How can it be the language of the Israelites to claim it, so that nobody today, anywhere on earth, wants to really claim that? It can only be the Jews' language. And so you got Jews in Israel today speaking it, and it's known as their language. And you get Hebrew Israelites saying it's their language from ancient times, but they were cut off from it. You see the trick that the Torah does to play the witchcraft on your mind? Anybody who reads the Torah and believes it's them says to you that it is their language. No, if it is Paleo-Hebrew that is the real original language, then it is not a language that belongs to the Hebrews, the Jews, or the Israelites. It is a language that belongs to mankind, because it will be the language of Adam, the original man. Hebrew is not the Jewish language. It is not the Israelite language. It is not the Hebrew language of the nation of Israel. Hebrew, if it is correct, would be the language of mankind, for he made them male and female, and they were supposed to populate earth. It is the language of mankind. Hebrew is not the language of Israel. It would then be the language of everybody. So it's a trick that still needs some more looking into, because we don't know what this language is. But it is for sure not the language of Israel. And so the Torah teaches you, or the teachers of the Torah teach you from the Torah, that this Hebrew, in its Paleo form, that they call Paleo-Hebrew, was the language of Israel. It never said that. It just says the language of the Hebrews. And two, it is not their language that is Hebrew, or that is Paleo-Hebrew, because it does not identify what the language was. That's why people guess. They say, some say it's Ge'ez, some say it is some whatever, some say it's Aramaic, some say it's some other kind of stuff. I got my own thoughts too, but I don't know what it is. But at least you know, Hebrew is not to be thought of in your mind anymore, if the scriptures and the teachings along with the scriptures are correct. Should not be thought of in your mind anymore as a Jewish language or a Hebrew Israelite language. It's a language for all man, whether you're Chinese, whether you're Israelite, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Assyrian, whether you're in the islands in Jamaica, Trinidad, whether you are Spanish, whether you are French, whether you're whatever. It is just the language of man if it was the language of Adam. Because they're saying Israelites are using the language that the Shemites kept, because they were not cursed at Babel, and they, the Shemites that were not cursed, kept the language from Noah and so on, going all the way back to Adam. So they got the original language of Adam. So then it would have been the language of mankind. It is not a specific language for Israel, the nation, the biblical nation of Israel in the Bible. It is not a nation-specific language. It is a mankind-specific language. It's the language of man. Think about that. Think about that.